Dr. Scott Jensen, he is a Minnesota gubernatorial candidate and former Minnesota state senator. So many troubling things that we're seeing and that were said in that moment. What is your reaction to what you just heard about white supremacy and those worshipers in church?
This is exactly what's turning the temperature up in our nation. The bottom line is Don Lemon is following the same footsteps as Tim Walz, and we're seeing people wondering, how in the world can this happen? Where is the outrage? Where's the outrage from U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar, from the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz? This was a sanctuary that was virtually defiled, and kids were frightened silly. And Don Lemon is trying to milk this for all it's worth. This is disgusting at multiple levels.
So Governor Walz, as troublesome as it's been for obviously him as a politician having to drop his reelection bid, he did come out and condemn this and say this isn't right. That is as far as he went. But does that tell you something that even Governor Walz, wherever he stands, as far left as he could possibly be, tampon dispensers in high school bathrooms for boys, he even says, all right, yeah, this one I don't support.
I appreciate that he said that, but frankly, for Tim Walz, everything is a political calculation. And I would say, why isn't he calling on his Democratic colleagues to come out and acknowledge that this is wrong-headed, that this shouldn't have happened? There should be an apology to the parishioners at this church. And I think absolutely the federal investigation should take place to this, because it's certainly not going to happen in Minnesota with Mary Moriarty, Keith Ellison, and Tim Walz at the helm.
No, you're exactly right. In fact, it was Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison rejecting claims that anti-ICE protesters who stormed St. Paul's City Church broke federal law. Ellison went on record saying this on the Don Lemon Show. Watch.
And the FACE Act, by the way, is designed to protect the rights of people seeking their reproductive rights to be protected, and so that people, for a religious reason, cannot just use religion to break into women's reproductive health centers, right? So how they are stretching either of these laws to apply to people who protested in a church over the behavior or the perceived behavior of a religious leader is beyond me.
He's incorrect on that. The FACE Act doesn't just protect the reproductive rights centers, but also it protects places of worship, entrances in worship. Talk to us about what you hope to see from the Department of Justice on this.
I hope to see a full-throated investigation. And obviously, Keith Ellison, as the Attorney General of Minnesota, should have a more working knowledge of what the law actually represents. This also is what has caused Minnesota to be the laughingstock of the nation. I think this is why President Trump does so frequently tweet about Minnesota, because this is beyond comprehensible. And so I want an aggressive investigation. There's no question in my mind, if the tables were turned and a different faith family had been subjected to what happened on Sunday, you would be hearing screaming from Keith Ellison and Amy Klobuchar and everybody else. But this is absolutely partisan interpretation of what's going on, and the devil be mindful of what's going on here, because we've never seen anything like this before in my lifetime.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.